Contrary to what most people believe, Palki Sharma's words at Oxford represent hope, not reality. They represent the India that we so want to see and conveniently leaves out the parts that are too disturbing to take in. Now, both digital India and infrastructure are two beautiful feathers in our cap, and so is India's growing economy, yes. But why is India's income gap being left out of the conversation when 22.6% of India's national income is going to just top 1%, and the bottom 50% are getting only 15% of the national income, according to a survey in 2022-23. In fact, another survey shows that income of the poorest 20% in India plunged by 53% in the last 5 years, while those at the top surged. When she says Indians are more prosperous at home, is she just talking about the 1% club? Instead of equitable distribution of wealth, there is concentration of wealth amongst a few big corporates and family-owned businesses. And if most Indians are indeed more prosperous at home, what's the need for them to go out at all? According to an Expat Insiders survey 2021, 59% of Indians moved out for careers, which is more than 10% higher than the global average of 47%. Could the increasing unemployment rate, especially amongst those who are educated, be the reason behind this? Another significant factor pertaining to confident India that was conveniently left out of the conversation was that India touched 111th spot out of 125 countries on the hunger index. And if India is really so confident about its progress, why is India's fourth pillar of democracy hanging by a thread? Why is there a need for channels like News Laundry to come up and expose what's wrong with the Indian media industry today? What about the silenced journalists, the bot journalists? World's biggest democracy is indeed charting its own course, as Palki states in the speech, with our press freedom index now showing up at 161 out of 180 countries. If arrests of journalists and takedown of accounts that were doing nothing but voicing their opinions, and those opinions happened to be against the government, are just some random elements and sporadic incidents
tolerant. But random elements and sporadic incidents do not speak for India or its leadership or its government. Only policies do, and I'll tell you about those policies.
Then I'm not sure what counts as red flags. Not to mention India's take on climate change, a reality strengthened by unseasonal rains, global temperatures rising, and glaciers melting. PM Modi doesn't believe in climate change, and I'm not saying this, he is. Hear it out.
ये climate change नहीं हुआ है, हम change हो गए.
Policies are getting stricter when it comes to charging opposition leaders under unproven scam cases, and still very loose when it comes to food. Bonvita, an ingredient that millions of kids consume, mistaking it as a health drink, was recently forced to lose its health drink tag in India, thanks to an influencer and not a bill passed in the parliament. Everest and MDH, two Indian spice makers, were recently banned by countries like Hong Kong, Singapore and Maldives. And they're now under the radar of countries like Australia and organizations like US Food and Drug Administration. They were banned because they allegedly contain a cancer-causing pesticide. Big actors like Shah Rukh Khan are still openly endorsing pan masala brands in India. Modi's India couldn't be farther from corruption. Or maybe it could, and we'll find out if there's a next term. The government has destroyed the objective of Lokpal by not giving it an independent machinery. On the corruption index, India is ranking at 93 out of 180 countries. And debates, in a sense, are not likely to show the real picture. It's only showing one side. So while I hold the deepest respect for the person making the speech and the dent she's leaving on the world, I do believe it's discouraging to disaccount for some important factors that go into deciding the course of a country's progress.